Hello, my name's Christopher Hall. I'm a private client partner at Kid Rapine in Charing Cross. I do private client work, which means I prepare wills, I help people with probate, and I set up trusts for clients. Let me give you an example of a client I met last week, just so you can see exactly the type of work I do. This client is an international businessman, an architect. In fact, he's designed the interiors for many well-known hotels around the world, and he needs to leave his estate so he's sure that his family won't squabble over it. He has a son who he's never met before, but wants to make provision for him. He has a partner, an ex-wife, and assets around the world in the Indian Ocean, in Europe, as well as France and England. So I have to go and see him in his place of work. Generally, these people don't come to the office, and that's part of our service, to go and meet them at their place of work, so fit in with their schedule. And generally they feel more comfortable anyway when they're in their own place of work. So I will go and see them. I will find out exactly what they have. Often it's a matter of asking them detailed questions to make sure that they're telling you everything, because you can find out that they haven't mentioned a particular asset somewhere, or in this case a child somewhere as well. So you have to make sure you include this in the will, so as and when they do die, everything is sorted out at the minimum of fuss. And then you, in this case, I won't be an executor, but the people who are executors can sort this out, and basically when they get probate, they can then have the power to sell his assets and then give them to his son, the illegitimate son as well, with the minimum of fuss. And that's what obtaining probate means. And if you're doing it in this country, it's usually fairly straightforward. You have to deal with the tax man and provide as much information or as little. You don't want to give them perhaps everything that they need, but obviously you have to follow the law and ensure that you don't incur any fees or any interest if you're late in paying your tax, particularly at the moment. The Inland Revenue keen to get as much tax as they possibly can. So that will be the process in probate, but also you then have to make sure in France and in the Indian Ocean jurisdictions that he can get hold, the executors can get hold of their assets as well, and that can be a different situation as well. You're dealing with people abroad, not to the same standards as in England. Not to say it's any worse standard, but they work in a different way. So you've got to manage people abroad, both in other law firms perhaps and in the courts abroad as well.
How will your clients know while they're still alive whether you're doing a good job or not?
If you're, first of all, you have to assure them, you have to persuade them that you know what you're doing, and to reassure them that what you've written reflects their wishes. And if you're setting up a structure which they'll see the results during their life, which is the other aspect of the work I do, which is offshore work, where you're setting up perhaps a trust for the family, for someone who's perhaps buying property in the UK, but not living here, and wanting to own the property through an offshore structure, so they're not taxed in the UK. You have to make sure, and the client will see that this is managed properly. Every year the right papers are filed. You keep them up to date, you communicate with them, which is a big complaint that people have about solicitors, is making sure you actually just don't forget about them. You may do a will and keep it in their storage, but you have to follow this up, particularly when you've obviously got a trust that perhaps some of their business money is going through this trust as well. So you have to ensure they know what the situation was, keep them updated.